Good evening, everybody. This is the 20th of July, 2021, and this is the Patreon-only live Q&A session. And I'd love to welcome here live. We have Linda, Rebecca, Alison, Caroline, Jill, Jane, Lorraine, Mary, and Pamela. And if you're watching the replay, a very warm welcome to you. Shall we unmute and say hello to anybody watching the replay? Or is that's a friendly thing to do?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Lovely to see you all. So tonight, the first thing we're going to talk about is Rebecca asked me about the time signature 3-2. So I'm going to go over that. And in particular, Rebecca, it was brought up, wasn't it? Because we did it actually in the immersion course this term. So I thought I might actually bring up the music to show you that, to come to think of it too. And then I've got a few questions for you guys this week. So if you're watching the replay and you think, oh, I wish I'd said this to Shelley, feel free to email me, info@heartwales.com. And also I'm just going to check in with everyone, unless if we don't get loads of questions tonight, I'm going to just come around and check in with everyone tonight, say hello and see what's going on with you in your harp life. Because there are busy things, aren't there, this summer? There's harp festivals galore. So some of you might be checking in with the World Harp Congress one. Some of you might be checking in with Somerset. Some of you might be checking with Harp Column. And those are just like the three that are happening kind of imminently or at the moment. So there is a lot going on, I know. So, you might like to share what you're up to and might inspire somebody else to join you as well. So let me open up the music so you can see it. So I'm going to go, I'm sorry, I am screen sharing, so you'll see it in a second. So it's this one. Here we go. Okay, so Rebecca's question was about this time signature. Oh, hang on, I put it into 4/4 for this one. It wasn't this one, Rebecca, was it? I'm sorry. It was the other one. Okay, so Rebecca's question is about this 3-2 time signature, where you get 3 as the top number and then the 2 underneath, rather than like where we get 2-4, where you've got the top number is telling you that there are 2 counts and the 4 tells you that there are crotchets or quarter notes. When you get 3-2, the top number is telling you that there are 3 beats and the bottom number is telling you that there are 2 minims or half notes in the bar. Why can't I remember which one we did? It was in Fancy Tricks, wasn't it? Of course, I've done another immersion since then. Okay, it is this one. Now we've got the music. Okay, so now you can see what I was waffling on about. There's the 3-2 there, okay? So I thought first of all, I'd just talk about why I've chosen it, Rebecca, and then we can just see if it brings up any other questions from everybody as well. So like I say, the 3 in this case tells us that there are going to be 3 beats. So when we're counting, we can count 1, 2, 3, just like if it said 3-4 here. So look, we're always playing in 3-4 or 4-4, aren't we? But the top number tells you how many beats and the lower number tells you the type of beats. So I always used to be very military about this when my students were doing their exams, and they take the exam, and one of the things you have to do is listen to the examiner play a piece, and you'd have to say which time signature the music had just been played in. I would always say, I'd like you to say the number of beats, so like 3, and then crotchet beats in a bar, or 4 crotchet beats in the bar, or 2 6 quaver beats in the bar. And we used to say it very rhythmically as well, so that it would kind of hopefully sink in and stick. And of course I'm talking crotchets, which are the quarter notes, and quavers, which are the eighth notes. So this one we'd say this is 3 minim beats in a bar. 3 minim beats in the bar. So the top one, I'm just going to say it one more time. I know most of you, or all of you even, may know this, but let's just get it really solid in our heads. The top number tells you how many counts, and the lower number tells you the type of things that we're counting in, be it the minims, the quavers, the crotchets. Okay, so the half notes, the quarter notes, or the eighth notes. So why did I choose this particular one for Views of Somerset? Rebecca, I agonized over this because I wanted to put it just in 3-4, because it would have been easier for everyone to count. But because of the nature of what I was trying to get you to do, Fancy Tricks, I wanted to create a feeling of space. And so basically the only reason I can justify that I did, and the reason I justified to choose 3-2 is because it's very steady and lilting and spacious. And then I wanted there to be dotted minims. So everyone would go, oh, well, if I've got a dotted minim, then of course I can do something fancy in there. Yeah, I wanted to just create this sort of visual feeling of space on the music, Rebecca. And then coupled with that, I thought to myself, oh, but it will make it hard for people to count because they won't be used to this time signature. And then you also hit the nail on the head with another comment you wrote somewhere, which was, this will be good for us because we'll have to count this time signature, or it's an unusual one. And those were the 2 reasons that I made peace with giving this time signature made peace with making this piece in this time signature. So it could be, I could have written this in 3/4, and then what would have happened was that these would appear as quavers or eighth notes, wouldn't they? And this would have appeared as a dotted crotchet, which would have been easier to read. But as I say, it was purely to just psychologically make us go, oh, look at all this time and space. So it was meant to be as trickery, really. But if I go back to the other reason, which is the fact that, then if we learn to count in this time signature, then when we meet it in other places, it is no surprise to us. Let's just think about when you might meet it. So personally, my main experience of this has been in ensemble playing and in orchestral playing. Very often, I'm sure there are many reasons why composers use it. I mean, I know that, historically they were used, this time signature, this type of, there's something to time signature was often used for dances, but I'm just leaving that aside for a moment. This music, this time signature is often used in orchestra, and one of the reasons is when there's two rhythms going on. So, for instance, a more common way of thinking of this, like 6/8 and 3/4, they both have 6 quavers in them, don't they? 3/4 or 6/8. But they, that means that you could have some people going da 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 da, and some people going da 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 da. But they would match up with the conductor. If he was beating in 3, then half the orchestra might be playing in 6/8, and that would work. It's the same with 3/2. Sometimes it's used if a composer is writing where there are different time signatures running concurrently, and I think it just seems to make it easier for that and for conducting purposes. I don't know whether that's exactly why, but I definitely meet it a lot in orchestra. I've met it a lot in orchestral music. The other place I've met it is when there's going to be a time signature change. It somehow seems to be used when it's going to, if something's going from one in orchestra music. Again, I've noticed. Well, I don't know whether this is a thing, but again, this is something I've noticed. If you're moving from one particular time signature into another, sometimes there's like a small passage where it goes into 3/2 and it seems, or 2/2 or something, and it seems to help it run smoothly for for consistency of beats or something, often with a speeding up or slowing down perhaps in the middle of it. I don't know, but I have met it in that way too. Counting it, Rebecca, can be challenging, and I'm always very honest with you guys, and I always wonder whether I shouldn't be, but I don't care, because I think it's more helpful for me to be honest than sit and go, I do this. So personally, when I've been working with 3/2 and 2/2 and whatever, I have found those time signatures hard to count, because I was originally taught to count them as if, like I told you to, Rebecca. So, and this is why this is great to talk about it. Instead of 3/2, I was told, well, count it as 6/4. Why? Is everybody all right with why? Because 3/2 would have your 3 minims, and the 3 minims are the same as 6 crotchets. So in the other terms, the 3 minims are like the 3 half notes, and that's the same as getting 6 quarter notes. Okay, so they add up to the same number. So you can count, Rebecca. Just come back to the screen share, although I don't think Rebecca can see this, but you can watch it on the replay, Rebecca. You could count this music. If you could ignore that says 3/2, you could think 6/4, and you could think 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3. So you could count it like that, and I think I was definitely taught to do it like that originally, and where this fell down for me was when I found myself sat doing orchestral playing, and the conductor's just giving you the 3. So it's going da dee da dee da dum. So you're getting your 3 counts, and if you're counting in 6/4 and you're seeing 3, that's okay, Rebecca, or anyone who thinks they're going to do it that way, as long as you understand that you're counting 6/4, but you're going to be seeing 1 2 3. So you're going to have to be thinking 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. So I think this idea, this concept of counting something has a 2 underneath and just doubling both numbers. So instead of 3/2, you get 6/4, or if it was 2/2, you would get 4/4. If you do that, it's okay, so long as when you then playing in a group setting, you are very aware that your counting is different from what you may have given in beats to you. And it's also an emphasis thing, isn't it? If you go into 6/4, are we going to be tempted to phrase it more like it's 6/8? Whereas if it's in 3/2, the strong beats are definitely meant to be here and here, and to a lesser extent there on that beat, which is, if you're counting the 6/4, it'd be on beat 1 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and then 5. So 1, 3, 5. Whereas in 6, 4, you might find that you persuade yourself to think feeling it more like 6, 8. So that's another reason just to be cautious if you're counting in 6, 4 instead. But Rebecca, that is the simplest way, I think, to get our heads into it, is to just think of it as 6, 4, and then just be aware. The final reason, coming back to me justifying why I put it in this time signature, I really don't think I can, Rebecca, 100%. As I say, the reasons I gave myself for justifying it, the 2 reasons I've given out to you. But I wrote it in both, if I'm perfectly honest, into Sibelius and chose this one. But I also felt that because the things like, I don't know, because yes, it's not justifiable, you see. I felt because I really wanted these to have the space, have the feel of space. And I could have just given a really slow metronome mark at the beginning, couldn't I? But psychologically, how many of you, if you see stripy notes, so if you see something like a demi-semi-quaver, how many of you think, oh, I'm going to play that really fast? I do. Okay, so yeah, exactly. So, you know, they go faster stripes is what I call them. So as a joke, really, because they're not go faster stripes. It's the opposite. You know, there's just a way of subdividing and counting, isn't it? But psychologically, we feel like that. So actually, Rebecca, that's all I can really do to justify that. But so does that help, Rebecca, to know the 2 reasons behind why I did it? And the fact that you are not wrong in asking me why couldn't it be in 3, 4. You're absolutely that. You know, as I say, I actually wrote it in both time signatures. I had a long conversation with Richard about it as well before I went for putting it in that time signature. And the fact that it's definitely something that I've seen. I've personally encountered most orchestrally or in early music for dancers.
Thank you. It's everything you said makes perfect sense, and the math makes easy sense to me. I could easily switch to 6, 4, although my brain I think would prefer to keep it as 3 beats to a bar and just subdivide it. Like, I feel like I would want to go 1 and 2 and 3
and that's brilliant.
Different.
Yes.
Yeah, that might keep me more on track.
And Rebecca, I've just forgotten the one other thing I wanted to say about this. Often when you go send me a question, it kind of, I find I've thought about it on and off for like several days. One of the other things I wanted to say about this is that 6, 8 is often challenging for people to begin with. So I don't know if anybody here found 6, 8 a challenging time signature when they first worked in it. I know I did when I was learning. You know, originally it was definitely something that I didn't. You know, I learned 3, 4 and 4, 4, and then suddenly somebody comes along and gives you a piece of music and says, right, no longer are you counting in crotchet beats. Oh no, now you're counting in quaver beats, and it feels horrible. And you're like it like explodes for me. It definitely like exploded everything I thought I knew about music when at the ripe age of whatever it was, you know, 8 probably or 7. But this is the same, Rebecca. You know, it's just that the fact that the whole count has become worth something different, just like when we learn from going from something 4 to something 8. It's something 2 is another whole. And so if your personality is such that you find that I don't know, for me, my personality was such that I found it, you know, as I say, kind of not was against everything I thought I understood, to suddenly have to think of half beats, what I considered to be half beats as whole counts. This, you're now having to think of what you thought of as 2 counts as 1 count, isn't it? So, you know, it just depends on how you originally taught it, I suppose, how you processed it, and then how you move forward with it. But all that really matters, therefore, is to kind of, like you say, understand the maths, understand the underlying principles, and decide on a way that works for you. And I love your idea of counting the ands, because then you're counting the crotchets, you know, 1 and then 1, 2 and 3 and, using the crotchets will fill up an and, won't they, basically, a half count.
And another part of it that's trippy for me is that it's a top-heavy time signature. The number on top is higher than the number on the bottom, and I get that theoretically, but I just don't have much experience with it. So if I stick to 3 beats, that's maybe less overwhelming than translating it to 6 beats per bar.
Oh, I
don't know.
So you feel it would be easier to carry on thinking of it as written.
1 and 2 and 3, like, it might just help me learn how to do a top-heavy time signature. I don't know. I'm just gonna play
top heavy time.
yeah,
sorry. Yes. Okay. Yes. You will. And like you. I mean, hopefully, yes. And like you say, you know, which you said in one of your messages about it, you know, you know, anything new that we learn to start with can, well, you didn't say it like this, but this is what I saw. I was like, yes, everything new that we learn, you know, we encounter, sorry, to start with might feel like something that we've got to new to grasp, of course, but once you've got it, then you meet it again and it's just water off a duck's back the next time you meet it. So if you find your strategy through now, Rebecca, then next time you meet this, you'll just be like, oh yeah, I'm just playing in I don't know, 6-2 or whatever it might be, and it will be fine, hopefully.
Well, thank you for guiding us to and beyond the edges of our comfort level, or the edge of my comfort level anyway.
Oh, Rebecca, well, I hope you can also sit within your comfort level, because that's really, really important too. But just going, and I've just brought the music back up, which I know you can't see, but I know that one of your comments you mentioned about, you know, you weren't sure about flourishing because you've got they're doing the fancy flourishes because of the time signature, but I really hope you can see your way through that now, because really it's just that you've got these spacious, you've got these half notes with dots or the whole notes even, and they're there just so that there's space for you to do some faffing and some fancy flourishes with your, you know, between the hands, and that's what they're there for. So I hope you might pop some in now and give it a go, because I know you can. You're so capable. I've got no doubt that you could do this.
I will keep trying at it. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you, Rebecca. Brilliant. Bravo. Thank you for the question. Does anybody else want to ask anything else about this time signature, or anything else that's brought up in your mind, or anything you wanted to share? Any hacks that you've got on counting it for yourselves? Because it's always, the hive mind is so useful. No, okay, fine. Oh, Pamela, I think Pamela was trying to speak to me. Yes, Pamela, please do. Would you like to unmute so we can hear you?
Okay.
Oh, you're muted again, sorry. Yeah. Oh, no.
I'll probably put a picture on our
group.
Yeah, it reminds me of a silly birthday card I had last year. April, we were in lockdown, and it says, these are difficult time signatures, and I kept it. These are difficult times. That's
yeah.
It's so appropriate. But as I looked at this card, the top one's difficult. I think it's 13-8, but the bottom one isn't. And I argued with the person who gave me the card.
And is it, what is 3-2 on there? Is this, or just, you just, no.
Something similar to that. I think it might be, might be something similar to that.
Well, we look forward to seeing the card then. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Put it on.
Amazing. And it was a very appropriate card. It's great. Okay. Right. You've all just frozen on me, so I hope you can hear me at the moment. Hi. Oh, Mary's going to add to that. Yes. Hi, Mary.
Yeah. Did you say count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1 and 2 and 3 and? Because you froze at one point and then missed
sorry,
a couple of bits. That's all right.
So with 3-2, in if you were going to be conducted, the conductor would probably beat it in 3. And so obviously counting therefore 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, and then thinking of this as 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 is the actual way that we should be thinking of it in theory. Should you know, whatever, but I mean, so yes, just like 6/8 changes so that we can the quaver. Sorry, it's very noisy. I think it's the television. Someone.
Yeah, it's mine. Sorry.
Oh no, it's yours. That's fine. You know. Sorry, I was going to say in 6/8, yeah, you know, the quaver becomes the whole beat. In 4/4, the crotchet is the whole beat. In 3/2, the minim is the whole beat. So yeah, these therefore become ands. But Mary, lots of us get taught, as I did, and as many of you may have experienced too. Oh, just instead count this in 6/4. So then you think 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So either is fine, but just if you count it in 6/4, you have to be. My offering to you would be very conscious that you're not counting it truly in the time signature. So just be careful on the accenting side of things, and also on the collaboration side of things. If you're working with others, that you are, you know, you're not really counting in 3/2, but it works. And it works on, it's easier on our brains for some of us. Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure it's the ideal, but it's a quick hack.
Thank you very much. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Welcome, Jean. You just arrived. Hi. Lovely to see you. So Caroline has asked me a question while we were chatting, and again, keep any questions coming because, as I say, I've got a couple of questions to ask you guys, but that doesn't quite seem fair tonight, so I hope you don't mind. But anyway, I'd rather answer your questions first, definitely. So Caroline says, any tips to stop strings pinging in the hot weather, please? Says Caroline. No, not really. Okay, so Caroline, yes, strings break, don't they? And it's gutting in the summer when when the thunderstorms come in and you watch like everything in your first and second octave gradually sort of pinging and snapping, and you think, oh no, there's another £10 gone, or worse. So all the things you can do, put it in the, the things that we do, put yourself in the coolest room in the house, so put the harp in a cool space. Cover it over can be good. I always feel it's better in its cover, even when it's hot, as long as it's not in sunlight, because it's got that consistent temperature underneath. I'm saying this out loud, and that sort of feels counterintuitive, but it's what I do if I'm really worried about it being hot. Is it when I'm at home? I mean, when I'm at home, if I'm perfectly honest, when I'm at home, I leave my harps. They're just all out. It's really hot in here, and I do everything that I would do in the house. So things like, sometimes shutting the curtains is better than opening them, isn't it? Sometimes having the window shut is better than opening the window. So, all that sort of thing. Jill, you've been recommended by Alan Shires, and as you know, I think Alan Shires is one of our absolute harp gods. So he suggested you to keep a small cup of water in the room to keep the humidity sort of okay. And I lived in a very, very damp old house for a while in St Fagans in Cardiff. I had really thick old walls, and I had to have a dehumidifier in the room. It's not quite the same thing, I know, but it's just another thing for sort of keeping them regular. Keeping the air sort of not too damp. Sorry, that was for, wasn't it? The other thing, I'm just thinking, there are other random things you hear people do that I would never ever do. You hear of people sort of changing string tensions and stuff, but I don't do that personally. If I've had to tune the harp up a lot somewhere, I make sure that when I take it back to its consistent temperature room, I drop it, I retune it to make sure that it's not under loads of extra strain. And that's really all I've got, Caroline, is do all the same things you would do for a human. Apart from giving it a nice lolly, I wouldn't do that. But just do all the same things you would do for you. So yeah, yes, and you all know about sunlight. I'm just sort of realizing I'm kind of going back over what Mary, you asked about, can keep what sort of temperature and how to, didn't you? So it's kind of basically all those same things, and I can't really help on the stopping your strings pinging, Caroline, apart from saying, if you hate it, and some people really do, go out and buy a carbon fiber harp, because they basically never break. So some people do that. There's a few of you laughing, yes. So that's actually the secret, really, Caroline. Yes, if you really don't want to be replacing strings, is that, but yeah, or nylon. So I'm sorry if anybody else got anything to add on that. I wish I had a secret special answer for you, Caroline, but I just don't. No one's got any answers. Nobody's got any wizardry. No. I wish we did. Okay. Sorry, Caroline, it wasn't very helpful. Linda's waving. Maybe Linda does have a good extra tip for us. Let's have a listen. Thank you, Linda.
I don't have a tip, welcome. But several years ago at the Harp Festival, somebody from America brought over the really lightweight. I thought it was a carbon fiber harp.
Yep.
And the advert for it showed it even floating in a pool and being quite unperturbed. Have you ever? I was so disturbed when I sat to try and play it, how light it was. There was no solidity to work around. Have you ever played one?
Yes. So, well, Helen's gone, hasn't she, Lorraine? That's why you're nodding, I suspect. Yeah. In fact, I played her one in the sea. There's a picture of me with her harp in the sea. So, yeah, they're quite astonishing because so there's even a pedal harp. In fact, Jill, you've probably seen the video of me where I hold one over my head. I went and lifted. I was like, can I lift the pedal harp? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, can I hold the pedal harp over my head? So there's a photo of me somewhere holding a pedal harp on my head because it was so light. But yes, I also, Linda, found it, quite surprising that it's so light because, any movement your body makes, the harp's straight there with you. So you have to, I think it probably really shows up, that whole thing of, are you really, moving your fingers into your hand, and is our playing really here, or are we, are we moving too far and pulling the strings this way and that way? I'm sorry, I sometimes think this is north and south. Let's think of, if you are playing the harp, and you're playing, by plucking the strings too much this way and this way, the harp will rock a lot. Whereas if we really work on it, as you all know, squeezing your fingers into your hand when you're playing, then the harp rocks less. And I suspect that the carbon fiber particularly, will show that up as well. So perhaps it's a good practice thing from that point of view. And my only other experience and thoughts on this, and I think everyone would agree, so I don't think this is me being mean about the harp in any way, is that the sound isn't quite continuous, is it, across the whole range of them? And I think that's something to do with the fact that obviously the wooden soundboards, this is me making stuff up, so please don't take this as real, but I think it's something to do with the fact that obviously the wooden soundboard, the whole thing resonates. So if you play, your strings up here and you damp, you carry on getting the ring at the bottom until you damp. Whereas on the carbon fiber, you play somewhere and it's gone. That's it. This doesn't make all the rest of the strings resonate because I guess the sound waves cannot move down the sound box in the same way. The Ulysses, the Camac Ulysses is different because it's carbon fiber everywhere, but then it's got the wooden soundbox, hasn't it, Mary? You've got one of these, and it's got the wooden front on it. And so that seems to have one of the most consistent sounds I've ever experienced, actually. It's really bright and loud at the top, and it's still got the warmth at the bottom and in the middle too. So
is that a pedal harp or a lever harp?
That's a lever harp.
The Ulysses.
Yeah, the Ulysses. I have got the right name, haven't I, Mary?
Right, I've not come across that one.
Yeah, it's really nice. Eleanor.
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah, I've got a red one. Yeah.
You have, haven't you? And it's lovely, isn't it, Mary?
Yes, I will show it to you one day, Linda.
Brilliant.
Right.
That would be great.
I mean, I just noted it one day because if arthritis gets bad, at least you can lift that one and move it.
They are really light. They're really, really light. And because Helen Barley's got both types, hasn't she? Am I right in saying this, Lorraine? Now she's got the Celtic, the one that's like this sort of harp with the full body, and she's got the one on the stand. So she loves them, and she got them so she can literally, you see her, don't you, in photos, just marching around with it under her arm, and it's light as a feather. The Ulysses is a little bit heavier, but it's still incredibly light compared to anything else, apart from the ones that are just carbon fiber. The lovely thing about the totally carbon fiber ones is, you could literally stand on them probably. And I don't do that either, but they're very robust.
You mustn't do that.
No, you mustn't do that. But if you drop them, it wouldn't harm them in any way. You might scuff it, but it's going to be fine. Whereas with the Ulysses, you have still got the wooden sound box. There's a little bit more care got to be taken. I'm sure you guys will take care anyway of your harps. You just reminded me, I don't know who was there in France when I had my first got the electric harp and I was taking it, and somebody said, "You're not really going to put that into the hole just in its bag." I went, "Yes, I am. I can stand on it." And I was 4 months pregnant, I think, at the time, if not more, and stood on the harp. I was like, "Look, see, it's robust." Anyway, so they're very robust, aren't they? Which is great. But I'm not sure the Ulysses are in the same way because they have got this wooden bit. But you see, Linda, if that's something you're thinking of just for the future, for something really light, that might be your happy medium. They're beautiful. They're really beautiful tone on them.
But they were much more expensive than the relative other ones. 3 times as much. I mean, this was 4 years ago.
I can't think what they're called now. I've got the mental block on what the ones I just went through my head. I have this every time on these harps. For some reason, it doesn't stick with me. They're made by Heartland Harps, I think, or sold by Heartland Harps, but they have another name. The totally carbon fiber ones are really expensive. I think that the Camac Ulysses. Is it loads more, Mary, than their Azilis? I don't know. It's not. It's definitely not 3 times.
The Ulysses is just over 4. I think it's 4,000 something.
Okay, and I think the Azilis are just under 4,000. So it's
that's less. Yeah.
Whereas the Heartland carbon fiber ones that I can't remember the name of right now, which will
they're about 8. There's 8,000. The bigger ones of the two are about 8. Yes, a bit out of my bracket at the minute.
And some people even go to America, do that thing of Right, well, actually, this is not legit, is it? But people will go out with an empty box or an old harp and leave it there and come home with a new one. That's not legit. Don't do it. I've never done it. I really haven't. Anyway, so I'm moving on swiftly. But there is a lot to do with the import, I think, is part of the problem, isn't it, Linda, on that? I will share the video of me lifting the pedal harp one there, because the pedal harp one, it was just an astonishing moment. I remember I was like, please, can I try this? And I was like, "Rrr," and I pretended it was really heavy in the video, and then I lift it up, and it's just, yeah, the fact you can do that with a pedal harp is amazing as well. So yeah, again, if anybody wants a light pedal harp, they're out there. It's incredible, isn't it? Heartland harps, yes. They have, don't they have another name though, Jill? That's what I feel that they're made by Heartland, and then the range has a name. But anyway, that's the range is the name. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So what is the name of the maker of the Ulysses harp?
Camac.
Oh, it's a Camac one. Okay, thank you.
It's relatively new. I think, is it 2 or 3? It's maybe 3 years old now, Mary. It's relatively new.
I've had mine 3 years, yes.
And you
Right.
had it from quite that long, didn't you? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. Okay, fantastic. Jean says, have you made a video of warm-ups to preface regular practice or recommend a practice routine? Okay, well, this is a great question, Jean, because I keep meaning, this could be actually one of the things I could put into the Heart Weekend, but I will talk about it now if everyone's willing for me to. There's a warm-up that I don't always do now, that I used to always do, that I made up, and I'm very happy to share that with you tonight if that's of interest to anybody. Yeah, okay, and but I mean, I'm sure I haven't written it out in part because part of me thinks, oh well, it's too easy to write out because it's just doing this, this, and this. But of course, that's ridiculous. It's just because I've done it millions of times. Whereas if I try and explain it to you, then it's going to be like, whoa, Shelley, that's too much. So yes, I could write them down as well. So perhaps I can share them with you tonight. If you think it's useful, then I can turn it into a warm-up thing. And I mean, really, with a good warm-up, you know, there's different ways. You know, are you warming up because, you know, are you warming up using your pieces because you want to make extra use of your practice time? Are you warming up and also trying to do some exercises that are going to help you strengthen a specific area of your playing? Or are you just doing a general warm-up where you're trying to catch everything that that we do in order to kind of make sure that you've done a bit of everything before you then launch into your playing? I think there are different reasons when we warm up that there are different reasons that might be behind our choice of warm-ups. So perhaps you guys might be willing to share what you're warming up with at the moment. And if you aren't doing anything to warm up, then, you know, you can just pretend you're playing scales. That's fine. So, you know, maybe you might like to think about that. And Jean, yes, go for it.
I was just going to say the reason why I asked the question is because it seems like there have been a number of little workshops, like Robin Gordon Cartier did one, and Felice Pomerantz did one recently on the Hanging with the Harp thing through Atlanta Harp Center. And everybody has favorite exercises, whether it's the Salcedo, you know, warm-ups or something. And I was thinking I would love to have something that's a contained play-along warm-up that kind of helps your hands learn the shapes of the of the inversions, or whatever you think is like sort of the bread and butter of playing the harp, that if everybody did this for 10 minutes before you do anything else,
sure,
you'd be ahead of the game in a while. You know?
Wow.
So I thought, you know, it's very likely you've already covered things like that.
I love that you've asked this question, Jean, because whenever anybody asks me something, I was like, is that possible? I wonder if I can think of something. I mean, that is asking, like, it's a bit holy grail of, that you're asking for the holy grail of warm-ups in a way, aren't you? But let me show you what used to be, as I'm saying used to be, which is really naughty. I do still use it sometimes, but I generally these days pick out something that I'm finding challenging and then turning into exercises. But I did this warm-up probably for 10 years, twice, 3 times a day. So I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, Couch to 5K. So Jean hasn't done Flourishing Harpist, but she probably will one day, I hope. And I'm saying that because Jean's about to help me with some stuff. So one of my offers will be, Jean, that if you want to do Flourishing Harpist while you're helping me, you can. But anyway, Couch to 5K is a piece of music. I'll show it to you actually, and then before I show you this workshop. Sorry, having a brain freeze moment. There we are. I want to go into manage courses. You don't really need to see behind the scenes. Never mind. You're here now. Oh, please do it a bit quicker than that. Yeah, okay, it's doing it. So this is in Flourishing Harpist. Okay. And Couch to 5K was a piece of music that I wrote to include a lot of the sort of things that I feel that we ought to do to warm up. And so jigsaw, I never remember which weeks these are in. Oh, and then I go past week 6, Jill. Okay.
Okay, Shelley.
Week 8. Amazing. There we are. Thank you, Lorraine. That's brilliant. Okay. So this was, in fact, if I show you earlier on in this, if I show you, I think it's got, hang on. So I go through some of my favorite study books, which is one of the things that you asked about. I've always really liked the Salcedo Daily Dozen. And I really like these ones, Review, I think you call this. Even just the first page of this is brilliant. And then the Grossi is one that certainly in Wales, I'm sure in other places too, but in Wales it's like, you must do Grossi. It's like, you must. I think it must have come down like generations of harpists. It's like, what do you mean you've never studied with Grossi? You know, so it's like, that is the thing. If you're in Wales, you must have done your Grossi. And it's, you know, it goes through everything. And this seems to be a very popular one. Loads of people own this book. Does anybody own the Deborah Friel Harp Agility ones? Yeah, loads of people. They've spiral bound. Yeah, okay. It's like, I think you open it up and you go, oh yeah, this looks good, because it's just nice and playable looking, isn't it? Whereas some of them, like the Grossi, are written in Italian, and you don't know necessarily what it says. And I'm saying you, I mean me, I mean all of us. You know, and so some of you might know what it says in Italian. I don't. But there is an English translation that you can get hold of, even if you get told you can't, you can. And I love harp for today, actually, and on playing the harp. These are really pricey, big, thick ones, but they're nice. So anyway, that wasn't what I was trying to show you. I've digressed. That's still not the right one. I'm just hoping I can find what I was going to show you. No, okay, I tell you what, let me just go straight to here. Okay, so.
Shelley, are you?
Oh, sorry, hi.
Are you aware that the Grossi book is translated into English?
Yes, I have got it. Sorry,
I think Jan.
I must have cut out when I said that. Yes, I've got it, and I was just saying you can get it in English. I think the internet's not being great, is it tonight? Apologies for that if it's my end. Okay, so yeah, so this Couch to 5K, I go through various things that I see that people have challenges with, like the Alberti bass, where you have to learn to only place one finger ahead. There's some scales in here, but they're rhythmical. So you've got blueberry cappuccino tea. So you've got a slightly different rhythm in there. Block chords and inversions. I'm including some spaces, some arpeggios with inversions, some hand crossing. So this is where you have to go there, where you're doing, right over left. Scale patterns, careful fingering on this one I've written, which is a direct lift from the Handel Harp Concerto, pretty much. And so here we go, we're going into the piece now. So in this one, I've just put loads of things together. So I wrote this deliberately to have, lots of the things that we sort of need to, it's not, lots of things it's nice to conquer, so that when you meet them in a piece of music you want to play, you have them already at your fingertips and it isn't a sort of a wall to jump through. So we've got scales. We've got Alberti bass. We have arpeggios, that's in root position. We have them in, look, second inversion there. And I'm sure I then put in a first inversion chord somewhere as well. We've got it all in the left hand. So the left hand also has to practice doing the scales and the inversions. We've also got some triplet notes, because these can be, they can often be challenging too. The crossing over that I mentioned. So this is sort of, and then at the end you've got these arpeggios going down. Oops, I'm feeling bad. So that's kind of about teasing our brains. We're having to split the inversions between the two hands. So there's lots in there, but that isn't what I was really going to show you. That was what everybody just said was their warm-up, was one of their favorite warm-ups. So let me show you now. Let me just make myself big for a minute and spot my camera. So there's nothing clever about this. I'm always feel embarrassed to share this because I just think it's not really a thing, but it probably is. So let's have a look. So I'm going to go into C major, and when I'm warming up, the things that I always think about is I want to use all 4 fingers. So I'm looking very unruly. We've been in the paddling pool today, and I have dried my hair for you, but it's not very neat, is it? Okay, so right, what was I saying? I'm always thinking, I want to use all 8 fingers because I want to have everything moving, right? There's no point in warming, well, you might warm up finger 1 and 2, but if you do, you want to make sure that that you are warming up the other fingers as well. So I think to myself, okay, I want to warm up. That's going to involve all my fingers. And then I want to do the inversions gene, as you all know now. I think I'm a bit obsessed about the inversions because I think they unlock so many doors for placing and for sight reading and for improvising and for learning stuff by ear. I just think they unlock loads and loads of doors knowing your inversions, and also just for sharing knowledge, because you can just say to someone, oh, it's just second inversion G or whatever. So they're brilliant. So I also want to work in the inversions when I'm warming up if I can. And I also want to remember that slow means fast, and you want to start slowly so that when you first begin your fingers, you really are thinking about your placing and playing and your squeezing and your warm tone, even tone across the fingers and all that kind of stuff. So so the thing that I always my go-to used to be, I might do my scales and things, and I'll talk about some of the other things that you've heard from me loads, but let me just talk about this one. I'm just gonna check how much brain space this Mac's got. Sorry, that's a really random thing. How much storage I've got? No, not enough. I was going to say I could record this. I can't. I've recorded this. Okay, so I would first of all just put my left hand on root position C, and then my right hand on first inversion. And why? Because if you can't put both hands on root position because you fight over the middle string, don't you? The thumb and the fourth finger. It's okay for arpeggios because we cannot place everything in one go. But when you want to play them all at the same time, if you want to play them actually as block chords or something, you can't do them unless you went up the octave. So I would go root in the left and first in the right. Okay, brain teaser straight away, right? Inversion brain teaser. Then I would think about landing on the strings, and I think about the block chords first. So I think, okay, so we think hover, land. That's really important, particularly warming up, I think, because I'm always trying to coach myself, minimal effort, greatest reward. If you go straight on the strings and grab them tightly, ready to go, and then you're waiting for a while, for whatever reason, you're waiting for so-and-so to change their levers, whatever it might be, your hands have done a lot of work before you've even played a note. But if you can hover and land without much effort, just literally you hover in the right shape, and then you make contact with the strings, but you're just making contact without doing loads of squeezing, you are reserving your energy for when it matters. So hover, land, and then if you're going to do a block chord, squeeze, and then bring everything in, thinking about even squeeze, closing your eyes is really great, and then bring your fingers in, and bring them right in for full articulation. Those of you that have done flourishing harpists, you've heard me talk about different types of, full, half, whatever, or minimal, but bring your fingers right in, and then make sure everything relaxes. Now, depending on your teachers, you may have been taught different things to do, and I was taught to just kind of let my fingers go and come back out again, so to relax as I was coming out. It took me years to actually get my head around what that really meant, but it's basically just letting go as much as you possibly can in between. I'm just letting in Susan, who's arriving. Susan, yeah, okay, that's Susan, okay. So hover, land, squeeze, play, relax. So I've just done root position of first in this hand on a C chord. Now I'm going to move to D minor. I'm going to go D, F, A, D in the left, and then first inversion in the right, F, A, D, F, A, D, F. Okay, so now I've got root and first on a D minor chord. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to just hover, land, squeeze, play, relax. This gives you could do these as slowly as you like, really thinking about the angle of your fingers. Are you brushing the F, when I come back to the C chord, in which case, are you too straight, or do you want them to point down a little bit more to get clearance? Is your thumb brushing up here? If it is, check that you're bowing, that your thumb is high. Gives you really good time to really think about that. Okay, so hover, land, squeeze, play, block chord, play, relax. Move to the next one on the D minor, same thing, hover, land, squeeze, play, relax. Really consciously thinking about your relax, as I say, whatever you've been taught to do. Going on to the E minor, many roads lead to Rome, remember. E minor, okay, so hover, land, squeeze, play, relax. Moving to the next one, and so I would do a row of these. Okay, so I've just gone up the harp doing that. Now, the thing I like about this warm-up is that you get the harp, you get all those notes going on, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So then I might do the rolled chords next. So I might go, and actually what I would always do is I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, block, roll, block. It's all coming back now. Block, roll, block, roll, block, roll. So So I would alternate between blocked and roll chords then. So that was together and then rolled, and then together and then rolled, together. Again, root and first. So I just did that first one, block chords, job done, okay? Obviously not that speed, slowly. Then go back in, block chord, roll, block chord, roll, block chord. And then what I would do, so going all the way up the harp, then what I would often do is do the other way around. So I go, I think I would do it like that, yeah. So with this, when I did it this way round, I did the roll first. So I go roll. So this is a descending arpeggio now. Roll, block, roll, block, roll, block, roll, block. Again, the full scale. Then after that, I probably can't tell you the order I did, but I used to do the broken fingering. So this practice is for cross fingering. So those of you that did the cross fingering workshop with me, it really helps on that. So I would go 4, 2, 3, 1, 4, and then the same in this one, 4, 2, 3, 1 in both hands. Sorry about the tuning. It's a very hot day. And then maybe the other way around. So maybe maybe I don't know if I ever did. I'm not sure I did, but it would make sense to. So, and then all the way up the harp with that as well. Then the cross fingering, the dreaded cross fingering. So some of you have worked on the cross fingering course with me. So that was me doing 4 and 2, and then 3 and 1, 4 and 2, 3 and 1, 4 and 2, 3 and 1. Yep. And then dots, hum, tee dum, tee hum, tee hum, tee dum, tee hum, tee dum, tee hum, tee dum, tee hum, tee dum, tee. And then lots of you, if you've done the metronome course, tee dum, 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 tee dum. I've just did those fingers in the opposite in cross fingering order then by accident. Okay, and then I think that was probably as much as I really used to do with that. And then what you can do is take it up the inversion. So that was roots and first, but now you can do, maybe you could go to doing first and second. You get the idea? So it's now you're switching on the inversion. So it was root and first, and then you can do first and second. Oh, the final one I didn't talk about was so that's doing again the same chords, but doing them as arpeggios, going up and down, and then you get the lovely harmony because you've got the root and the first at the same time. So when you play 4 and 4 together, you're getting a 10th, and then 3 and 3 together, you get the 10th again. So you get this nice harmony going on as well. That was a very whistle-stop tour of that. So just to simplify it back down once more, basically thinking of a C chord, then doing a scale of them. Okay, and you could even do it on triads, but then you wouldn't use the 4, so it was much better to do it with the 4 if you can. And then just finding every which way you can. And so actually it was interesting as I was talking you through that, I then said, some of you will have done this, some of you have done rolled chord practice with me where we've gone 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2. And we've gone through the arpeggio, learning the rolled chord by adding 4s until you get to the top as a way of practicing to get our rolled chords even and our placing good for a chord. So, there's that thing that would come into that. I talked about the fact that, the idea of working on bringing our fingers in and relaxing being a really big part of that warm-up. I then talked about the fact that doing the cross fingering idea, precursor, a warm-up to being able to do cross fingering, doing this one broken like this, then practicing these as well. And that was another immersion. Then I talked about doing the dotted rhythms, which I've talked about loads, and that came into the metronome course. So you can see from my brain why I suppose I felt that was a useful warm-up, because it's just by talking you through it like that made me realize, well, yeah, these are like big things that I've tried to teach you as concepts, but I'm just putting it into one set of chords so that my brain's not thinking about notes. My brain is purely thinking about muscle, purely being able to use its muscle memory to be able to work on its, careful placing, its technique, listening to what's going on while you're doing it as well. And I've just done those really fast. I wouldn't do those really fast as a warm-up until, you've been doing it for a little while. You know, and I don't mean a little while as in you starting learning that and then, you know, sitting down 2 years later and still playing it fast. What I mean is sitting down to practice, start it slowly as your warm up, and then your warm up would get faster once your fingers have warmed up. By the way, a brilliant hack for warming up: do your washing up before you play, because your hands get supple doing the washing up and warm. That's from Valerie Aldrich Smith. She told me to do that. It seems to work. And I would these days, you know, some of the if I was thinking, Jean, of like a bundle of things quickly, the other things that I massively value are things like the exercises where you do like your loud, soft, 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 loud, soft, soft, soft. Like you do all the 4 fingers loud, for instance, in scales. Hang on, sorry. So I was just trying to bring the 4s out, which is why it doesn't sound rhythmically right, because at one point I turned and so I had the 3, and then you would do it with the, you know, you might do the 3 next. So dum, da, 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 dum, da, da. So I really, really value doing exercises where you're doing accenting different on different fingers. And then another one that I really value is when you are, you know, things to help with our counting lots is, you know, the metronome being on. The metronome should be on for all of these, by the way, but the metronome being on so that we think of like one, doing something like 1, 1 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're working on putting in different numbers of notes into one click, and this is the same as tea, coffee, cappuccino, isn't it? Or butterfly, or I can't remember what words. Kate came up with words for me for the 5s and the 6s. But you know, it's, you can use the words to help you, but it's just like, that's another thing. If you're working on your rhythm, that working on rhythm warm up is really useful, I think. And I think it's something that gets missed out. So Jean, you really got me thinking, because actually one of the things that we often miss, I think as solo learners, I mean, you guys aren't, because you're working, you know, like this, and with other groups, and lots of you play with groups when we can, and lots of you work with recorded videos, so you have kind of a friendly metronome going, even if you're not working with your metronome. If you're trying to keep up with the video, you're kind of playing with a group, you know, aren't you? Because if you're working with my videos and I keep playing unless you pause me, you know. What was I going to say on that? There was something valid I was going to say about that. Oh yeah, sorry, but I think when we are just working on our own, you know, we maybe have our lessons once a week and then we go home and do our practice independently. Our rhythm can be one of the things that we maybe don't get completely smooth. We feel it's smooth, but it's not until you can play in a group setting that you realize you might be just hesitating by a smidgen, and that smidgen will then throw you off when you're playing with a group and things. So I think rhythm work is often missed off. I know that solo guitarists are also like harpists. Harpists, I'm afraid, we are known orchestrally to you often hear people grumbling about harps and orchestra, their rhythm. Guitarists, classical guitarists, I think they spend a lot of time working on their own as well. And so I think it's just the nature of our instrument that we can be in isolation a lot with it when we're practicing. So rhythm work, Jean, also in a warm up, I think, and that's where I love those hum, tea, dum, tea, hum, tea, or blueberry, blueberry, lemonade, lemonade, you know, all the different rhythms, the word rhythms that you've many of you have done with me. I hope I haven't waffled too much. I'm going to come and check in with you now. But so, and as I say, that little warm up, you know, I like the way it sounds, you know, so it would give me something that I could go and do at a gig when I turned up that I didn't feel was just me going, you know, which can feel a bit embarrassing. It shouldn't, but I used to feel that, you know, so that's why. And also some of you have met this before, where I like things like the staggered scale, you know, where you start the scale later in one hand, the other, because it sounds pretty, or the arpeggios in different inversions, because they sound nicer than just going, you know, it makes you feel, you know, a little bit labored, whereas sounds nice, doesn't it? So there are some hacks to kind of some of our simpler warm-ups too. Jean, I'd love to come back to you and talk to you. So is that something that you could find useful, that first warm-up?
Oh, I think so. I think it'd be very useful. And while you were doing all of those things and going through all those books and all that, I was thinking this would make a wonderful subscription class. Could even be a once a week or once a month, where you do another installment. And with the sort of the beauty of Ruzuku, the person who is more advanced can speed it up if they want. The person who is less advanced can slow it down. Because I really depend on your counting. I'm so terrible that I really depend on your counting. And I think so. I was thinking, I wish I just sort of had Shelley in my pocket to pull out to play along with, faster, slower, whatever, because you have so many ideas. You're just bursting with ideas. And, I have those books too, but I don't know what page to go to. There's hundreds of pages.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it can be a bit overwhelming. I think if anyone's like me, I have got all those study books on my shelf, and how many have I really used consistently? Probably 4 of them in my entire life, and I've probably got about 30 study books. So, you're right, it can be overwhelming as well. But I would like to say, Jean, that my role as a teacher is to get you to the point where you don't need me anymore. So you will count on your own without me. And the fact that, you feel that you're relying on it now means that you're very aware that you're conscious that you need the counting to play the way you want to. So this is amazing. You are getting used to the counting and you're hearing it. And, one day you'll just find that you're doing it for yourself. Maybe, I have no idea, maybe you'll even voice it as me, I don't know, but one day you'll find that the sound is going on in your head without you even thinking, and so you will. And as I say, my role is to get you to not need me. So please don't feel like you're going to need my videos forever. I promise you won't. But yeah. So I love that you like the counting that you're using. You're not thinking, oh, I won't play that with Shelley because I go out of time. You're thinking, no, I want to work with this counting because it's going to help me. So that's amazing. And yeah, no, it's a great idea. It's a lovely idea on the warm-ups. On the warm-ups front. I mean, I think there's so many ways that have opened up for us now with the bigger acceptance of learning online. I think back when I started Start Harp in 2016, there was such a almost everybody I spoke to was like, you're teaching online, isn't that like a rubbish way of teaching? And I was like, no, it's not. And I think that, that there's a much wider acceptance now of it being a positive experience, that the community is helpful, that hearing each other's, hearing things voiced differently by lots of different teachers is amazing. We couldn't used to have that. Now you can go and hear 10 different teachers tell you the same thing, and one day somebody's telling you, you're like, that's what they meant, and that's really useful too, so I think you're right, Jean. I think that group practice sessions will become commonplace over time. I don't know how they'll work, but I think, I don't mean just like ensemble playing at all. I mean, people having, like there's a room that I go to do co-working sometimes when I'm struggling to motivate myself. It's just an online room where you can tell people what you're doing. Like, I'm trying to make a worksheet. What are you trying to do? And somehow just that can be helpful. And I think that even just like having meeting up points where you're like, okay, from 3 till 4 or once a month or once a week or once a day, there might be a room available where everybody just comes and they do their own thing, but they tell people what they're doing and they can go, wow, I just finally worked this out. Or can anybody work out how the counting should be on this bar? Does anybody mind if I interrupt them? All that kind of stuff. And I think, I think, Jean, maybe we should spearhead this, but I think, and I'm sure people are doing it already, but I think it's a lovely idea. So thank you. It's good. Shelley in my pocket, says Caroline. Kate always talks about having her phone on, doesn't she, when she's like vacuum cleaning and just listening to me in her ear and things. Anyway, there we are. Brilliant. Okay, so Caroline, is there anything else? Sorry, Jean, is there anything else you wanted to add on that, or are you happy for now?
I'm happy for now. It's just that you hit it on the nail on the head when you said all these books, and I have most of those books, but I don't know where to go in those books. And then I have to read music. But if I have somebody say, no, it's really easy, it's like this. And then, you just charge ahead. It's like, oh, okay, I'll grab my harp and do it.
She's counting in.
I have to decipher all this ink, before I can try to do it. And then my rhythm probably won't be right. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, there could be any sort of periodic way of doing it. Could it even be an immersion, or it could be.
From the point of view of the stuff that I'm doing at the moment, maybe I've done that technique booster course. Maybe we could have a warm up booster course, couldn't we, or something like that? Maybe that's the way of doing that, because I think it's longer than an immersion. But so maybe that's what I should think of. So, but thank you for seeding the idea, and maybe I can do it as part of the Harp Weekend. It doesn't sound very Harp Weekend. It sounds a bit too serious, doesn't it? But you never know.
I often find that when I sit down at my harp, I have a few things in mind, but I don't have any very organized way, and I end up wasting my time.
Right. Yes.
It would be really great if I said, okay, I'm going to do chapter 1 today and chapter 2 tomorrow or next week or something, and that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
So if it were 3 4 weeks, and then you could rotate around with whatever material you cover.
It's really interesting because I'm just trying to figure out, I've listened to you guys about, what is with the content I'm offering. It's a lot. And it's, I often talk about the library of ideas and things, and there's clearly a gap for, learning a specific piece rather than me bombarding you with material. So one of the things I'm going to do in 2022, January, is I'm going to launch just a practice class, a 6-week, it'll run in 6-week blocks where we just can meet up in a group, commit to practicing a piece, and then meet up, to be like, to share our experiences and to talk about where we're going next with everything, and then to perform together at the end of the 6 weeks. And I just wonder whether this might be another little, another thing that could dovetail in. So thank you for the idea as well. I'll work on that in the background and see what I can come up with. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, Linda is waving at me, and somebody else waved at me as well a minute ago. So Linda, yes, take over, take the stage.
I wasn't around when you did whatever it was, week 8, with all these exercises that you mentioned, and I've tried to jot them all down as best I can.
Yeah.
But it would be lovely to have almost like with each of those ones on a page. So I could a 4-week course or something on them. Or even each time that you do an immersion, we just do one bit of those warm-ups. So they gradually become more familiar to us.
And so it gradually becomes the whole set. Yeah, that really does make sense, doesn't it? Yeah. I love that you're asking me.
The whole set would take a very long time, but
yes. Yes, it would take a long time, but it would be.
I'd love to have them anyway.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. I will bear that in mind. If I'm perfectly honest, it would probably take me 20 minutes to type them up in Sibelius. It's not a long job. So
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, please.
It's really the same thing. That's the beauty of it. It's one idea, and then you're putting in all the techniques, all
the variations on it. I know, but I don't remember them all with all the inversions and rhythms and dots.
What I mean is it wouldn't be a long job for me, so I'm sure it's something I can do for you. That's what I meant by that. But from the point of view of your point of view, it's like, whoa, what did she just bombard me with? I wasn't meaning that from your point of view. I was meaning I can get that to you without it being too much trouble. Sorry, I was thinking about me.
Fabulous.
Brilliant. Fabulous. Okay. Is anybody else wanting to say something about these warm-ups or about any warm-ups? Oh, Ethna, yes, Ethna's always got something useful to say on warm-ups and things. Yes, go for it. Welcome, Susie.
I was going to tell you guys about a vocal warm-up.
Go for it. Sorry, Ethna. I hadn't said hello to Susan, I realised, so I was just saying hello. Carry on, Ethna. Beg your pardon. Ethna, where's she gone? I've lost you, Ethna.
Okay, so I did a practice, and the teacher would say, "Oh, you're spotlighting me? Oh God, don't look at my kitchen."
You like me to make you smaller again?
No white glove. Okay, so what I was going to say was that I took a vocal class called How to Practice, and the teacher said that as far as getting a complete vocal workout, you need to have so many exercises. It's the same thing for harp, right? You should be practicing agility and consonantizing and whatever. Anyway, so what she did was she, at the end of the class, created a video for us of her saying, okay, we need to do these 12 things.
Okay.
The first one, and she gave an example, and then she said, okay, now let's do it together. And we did, let's say if it was scales of a certain, intervals or whatever, then we did that together. And we also had, eventually had music to go along with it so that if we got lost, we could do it. And then once again, you can speed it up or slow it down on YouTube, but it's about a 40-minute vocal workout.
Wow, it's amazing, isn't it? Okay.
But it covers all the bases. And so what I did is I recorded just the audio of what she was doing. And so then I can do the dishes and I can do whatever and still be able to do that. You can't do that with harp though. No. But at least what I could do is just, I have the independence of being able to do it at any time, right? Just because it's on my phone.
Yeah.
They'll find it on YouTube kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I like about it is I'm being led by the nose, and I love that. I love that like Jean was saying, you don't have to think about it. You know you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You've got all the ingredients you need, and you're used to warm ups, you practice them in that class, and then and in between each warm up, there's like a little bit of a pause to say why we're doing this. Okay, and here's the tempo. Let's go.
Brilliant.
So it's very
yeah
applicable to what we want to do too.
Yeah, that is. And I mean, some of you will have heard me tell the story about learning Baroque flamenco with Deborah through her course. And I remember one of the things that I thought was spectacular, and this is one of the things that really sold me into online teaching, was I was like, at the end of the course, I was like, I haven't actually had to use my brain. I've learned this really long piece of music and I didn't have to think once. It was like, she's like, put your hand here, now put this hand here, do that 20 times. I'm like, okay, I'll do that 20 times. It was brilliant not having to use my brain. So actually a warm up where we don't have, where we are just, it's like always trying to take away this overwhelm, isn't it? When we're doing our snippet practice and things, we're trying to take away all the extra stuff that's like, please, I can't concentrate because I'm thinking about phrasing and notes and hand position and all the other things we have to think about. But if you can strip things back so they become simple enough so you can just do the thing that you're challenged with, then that is that's the thing. That is the holy grail. So of your practice, isn't it? So yeah, I wonder if you're right. We're warm up where we can do it, where we don't have to engage our brains, and we can be just like, put your hand here, do this thing, do that 10 times. Then then at the end of it, you're like, yes, I've warmed up. And what would be brilliant would be to have a 5-minute version. Because you were saying 40 minutes, you're like, oh, that's a lot. A 5-minute version, a 15-minute version, and then a 40-minute version, maybe. But, to have like, okay, right, I've only got 20 minutes to practice, Shelley. I do not want to do 40 minutes of warm-ups. But if there was a 5-minute drop-in one, like, these are the things, if you've got no other time, do this. That would be a really cool way to do that. Yeah. Thank you, Ethan. That was brilliant. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, then anybody else want to add anything about warm-ups? Okay, well, I would tell you what I would love, because I always want to try and get everybody to say something. So I wonder if everyone would be willing to share a favorite warm up. Can I just get you to all share a favorite warm up? And you can make it up if you don't have one. It's fine. So Ethna, do you have a favorite warm up as you were just speaking? No. Okay.
Of course I do. I'm all obsessed with the Couch to 5K. So.
Of course you do, yes, that's your one. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Mary, do you have a favourite warm-up? And then I'll come to Alison.
Well, I'm there. I just do scales and arpeggios, and I'm learning now how to do first and second inversions.
Wonderful.
So I couldn't believe that I actually did it last week, and I thought, crikey, at last.
Fabulous. And I'm obsessed by these inversions, don't you? So they're really so helpful. That's brilliant. Fantastic. Brilliant.
Thank you. I'm quite pleased with my
good. And that is there's a reason why all the exam boards
you've frozen.
Sorry, Mary. There is a reason why all the exam boards want us to play our scales and arpeggios, and so it's great. They have everything in that. So much in that we need. So that's brilliant. Thank you, Mary. Alison, can I come to you next? And I'll come to you. I won't come to Jean because you've just. Well, no, I will come to Jean as well because Jean, you will have an idea of what you're using at the moment. So Alison and then Jean.
Hi. If I'm doing just a quick one to start with, I like doing the scales with rhythms, dotted rhythms and such like that. And I'm quite into doing it a third apart. I like that. It's a lovely sound.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant because then you're concentrating on, you're not that same coloured string under each finger. You're sort of, there's a bit of hand independence, but the rhythms are so good for control, aren't they? For, so that, rather than, obviously the regular rhythm's important too, but once you then introduce those dots and things, it's really upping the game on your counting and things. So that's brilliant. Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much, Alison. Jean, would you like to share yours? And then I'll come to Susan, if I may.
More fun as well than just doing straightforward.
Yes.
Yes. The thing that I'm working on the most just recently is a workshop that I took with Robin Gordon Cartier, and she used Elegy from Kathy Bundock Moore.
Okay.
And so she had made kind of an articulated like ABC, like 1, 2, 3, skip one, and then keep hand over hand, and then she would do 1 and 2, 3, and then 1, 2, and 3, and then whatever, however, but the moving eighth note is what she called it. And then another one in the same workshop was Angie Bemis's song called Melissa's Circle, is seventh, what do you call it? Like inversion, not inversion. What is it when you have the seventh chord?
A dominant seventh or just the seventh?
She has a way of working her way down. So you're just moving your top two down, down just two, and then the second time around you move your lower two fingers down two more notes. So you're kind of crawling down, but it's very, very beautiful as you're doing it. But it's Melissa's Circle, Angie Bemis, and out of it and made it into an exercise, and it's so pretty, and it just sounds like you know how to play the harp.
Yes, that's what I love about.
I play that when people come on.
Good, yeah. I mean, I love. Robin is a phenomenal teacher and person, isn't she? She really is phenomenal, and what I love about that is that she's getting you to do. That was, a rhythm practice thing, and then, a moving shapes thing. And those were different seventh shapes, but she's doing it cleverly because they sound very beautiful and satisfying. So there's more of a will to want to learn something when it's like that. So Robin is very, very wonderful if any of you have a chance to work with her. So that it's really exciting. I love that. Thank you, Jean, for sharing. Thank you. Brilliant. Susan, may I come to you next, and then Pamela?
Okay.
Hi, Susan, welcome.
Well, I guess I have to admit that I'm not consistent on any of that. So it's like a book and go, okay, I'm glad I came today to hear different suggestions, and maybe that will help me get where I am consistent. Because I feel like when I grab something, I'm just wasting my time. It's like I feel like I'm not doing anything. Yes, I've got a book or an exercise, but it's not, I don't know. I don't feel like I've checked it off the list, but I haven't really done anything that would benefit me. I guess that's what I'm saying.
I think I might understand how you feel, because I know that I was a very reluctant exercise user for many years. And I think because I always used to feel that there was a disconnect between the exercise I was doing in the piece, which is probably why I loved the idea of taking the exercises out of pieces so much. It's probably where my sort of obsession with that came from. Because then you can see a direct reason. You're like, well, I'm practicing that bar of the piece, but I'm also warming up, whatever it might be. But what I would say, Susan, is that, I genuinely believe that any time we spend on the harp doing things, it's useful somewhere, because even if we practice a warm up and we think, oh well, I'm not using that today, it's not going to help me. The benefits of any warm up is that as long as we do them slowly, so that we're really consciously thinking about technique and things, it will carry over into the pieces. That the fact that your fingers are more supple, and the fact that you've given them some time to concentrate on their down fingers and your up thumbs and everything like that, and your breathing, whatever. I think it's really important to think about breathing when we're warming up, by the way, as well. And also, Susan, if you do something, say you were doing an exercise that was, I don't know, I was thinking of something random, but say it was the seventh chord, doing something like this, and then you're playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star as your piece, for instance. Just a totally random example, not a very interesting one either, but never mind, I'm going to carry on. If you do that and there's no connection between them musically, the thing is that the time at the coalface, time at the harp strings will at some point be useful. That thing that you practiced in your warm-up will turn up at some point in another piece one day somewhere in the universe, and so it will be useful over time. So I think it's important. It's important to remember that they are useful, but even if they don't feel instantly so. But yes, sometimes, and also I come back to the warm-up I showed you that I used to do all the time, and I don't really do very much now. But the reason I used to like it was because I didn't have to use my brain too much. It was the same thing every time. But if I had a particular thing I was struggling with in the piece I was going to practice, I could sneak it into what I was doing. So say I was finding maybe country motion of some sort difficult, then I could take my standard warm-up, and instead of doing, I could could go, I could use the same shape, same chord and do it in the opposite direction. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is that if we do find a warm up that we like, if we choose a warm up that is using all 4 fingers, I think we can often make them fit what we're going to then practice on as well. So you can kind of, you know, shoehorn your exercise that you like to be useful for your piece that you're going to do. So yeah, Susan, I hope that you feel inspired by some of these ideas, but I'm sure what you're doing is also brilliant and useful, even if it doesn't quite feel like it always. Brilliant. Thank you, Susan, for sharing. Thank you. Pamela, would you like to share something with us? And then Lorraine, I'll come to you if that's okay.
Got there. First of all the things that you showed us looked and sounded so much fun, and that's what you know part playing is to me. But as if you were playing exercises, it sounds as though you were really playing the harp, and that's what I'm trying to aim at.
Yeah, okay,
my favourite one, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
But my favourite one is playing scales in thirds and sixths. Because of the sound, and it sounds really good. But it was so hot and my eyes were tired and everything, and I thought, oh, I haven't played the harp much. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Didn't bother to switch the light, and I actually played it in the dark, up some things. But it was a really good experience because I was thinking more about finger, thumb position, things like that. So I think that's something I might try and explore a little bit as well.
I think it's a very good idea, and you may have heard me. I often talk about, certainly in the courses, you know, about closing your eyes and doing things with your eyes shut, because I think actually you're right. It helps us zone out the visual, you know, the colours of the strings, and being, you know, thinking about that, and it helps us be more in tune with the muscle memory. It seems to help us listen better. It's that whole thing of, if you remove one of the senses, that the others become stronger or more alert, don't they? So yeah, I think it's a great idea. So, you know, you don't have to necessarily be in a darkened room, but
you're frozen again.
Closing your eyes or even looking away can be helpful. So I know that again, those of you in the ensemble, and you know, Marion and Jill, you know, I know sometimes I say to you, close your eyes or look at the ceiling or the floor or something, don't I? I don't always make you close your eyes, because I know I used to feel really awkward if someone told me to close my eyes in public, but you know, but it's very helpful, very powerful. Yeah. So thank you, Pamela. That's a great idea. Going and playing in the dark is also really fun, taking your harp outside, but you know, you have to be somewhere you're not going to irritate your neighbours, but yeah.
Try that.
Okay. Thank you, Pamela. Lorraine, I'll come to you if I may, and then I'll come to Jane, if that's okay.
My favourite is one that you've already mentioned, Shelley, which is the rolled chord scales.
Ah, lovely.
I think it came out of because I wanted to really develop my shapes. So I've been doing root in left and first inversion in right.
Brilliant.
As a bit of a brain teaser as well.
Lovely.
I haven't quite got the rhythm of drum, 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 drum.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can't quite get that rhythm yet doing it, but it's coming slowly.
Is that because of the speed, Lorraine?
Yeah, I mean, even if I slow it down, I think, oh, it doesn't sound so nice if I slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does still sound nice, but I mean, what I love about mixing them up like that, I mean, I actually did a different rhythm earlier, didn't I? But you're right, that was one that I've also given out, is that it's making us very fast have to place back on the chord and then move with no gap, isn't it? And so the reason I'm just saying all this, I'm sure you realize it, but it is hard, it is challenging doing it like that. And so it's just the more familiar you get with it, you know, one day you will find that you can do it. But I would encourage you to try it slowly if you can bear to, so that, you know, when you're ready to, you can put the metronome on and speed it up gradually as well. But yeah, it's and it does sound nice slow, I think, as well. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, and try switching the inversions around as well, Lorraine, if you're interested in that. Try putting maybe first in the left and second in the right, or second in the left and mix it, and root in the right, mix them around a bit and for more adventuring into your inversion shapes.
Yeah, I do plan to do that, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like somebody said, I think it was it Pamela or was it Linda? That we could do one a month basically of those, and then one of you said this, and then you'd have all of them by the end of it. But the rolled chords in itself can be a whole year's project. So you're right. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much, Lorraine. Jane, can we hear from you? And then Linda, if that's okay, please.
Okay, scales, arpeggios, and sometimes I also go up the scale with whole chords, so I'm going between the tonic and the subdominant and the dominant every step of the scale.
So
there's something that came to mind when Jean spoke. She was speaking about different shapes going up and down.
Yeah.
And it brought to mind that this spring I've been working in different courses with I've been with Deborah all year.
Yeah.
And then there was two courses with Park Stickney, and now I'm trying to get Michael Rooney gives on how he gives the different chords. And I would love to, if you had a course for us on altered chords that would show us where to use them and how, and have a practice so that we would be either on the ones that are in the same key doing it the whole time, or else that we would have them so that where do I have to flip the lever.
Okay.
That's a special thing, and something really practical so that we could find a different piece and automatically, okay, this will come here.
That sounds like, Deborah always talks about them doing like one of the first things she ever did was just to try and put a flat 9, wasn't it, on a dominant 7th, and she just went out and every gig she did, she was like, right, every time I get the dominant 7th, I'm going to put a flat 9 in there. And that sounds like you're sort of thinking of some kind of exercises or something that would allow you to just, get used to, which position in the chord you need to do the alteration, or like default shapes. It's like, we've got default shapes for like the really common chords. And if I did that, that would be something that I would be doing kind of for me as well, because I always wish, I've got all these go-to shapes I use, but there are a million more go-to shapes I don't use. I would love a set of exercises that would make my life easier, and like maybe just go, oh, it's just one of those. That's when my hand does that, So when you see a particular chord, you're like, that's that shape, or could be that shape. Of course, it might be like 10 other things too, but a default go-to one. Is that kind of what you're saying? I think it is. Yeah. Okay.
After Park Stickney, I did my own practice of that.
Yeah.
I had realized that he was the same things, but in a completely different way than Deborah.
Yes, absolutely. I've worked with both of them too, and I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And then you have to find what works for you, and or mush them together for your way of thinking. Yeah. So yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? And you'll find that, if you go to another jazz teacher, you'll find the same thing. They'll teach you the same things, but from if this was the ball of what we're looking into, they teach it looking in that way or that way or that way, so and that's why it's so useful to work with so many different teachers, I think, as well. Obviously it's good to have one teacher guiding you through, so any of you working with your one-to-one teachers and things like that, that is an amazing way to learn, but then to also have to reach out and hear other people's perspectives and ideas and things, because sometimes you meet somebody who just clicks with you and says it in the way that works for you, or it's just hearing it for the 8th time said slightly differently from a different way might be the thing that works for you, isn't it? So Jane, you will come up with your own way over time, won't you, to think of it and explain it as well, and then you will be able to help people with your own thoughts as well, but I'm sure you already can because you are very proficient. So yeah. Okay, I'll have a think on that. I'll have a little think on that about a course on alterations. The thing is, you probably have to do one alteration at a time to make it really useful, to be like slow enough. It'd have to be a whole course, a whole year's project of going through different this week we're going to do sharp 11 on like whatever. Anyway, I'll think about it. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, everyone's moved around because somebody left. So I now don't know who I haven't spoken to. Jill, I haven't spoken to you on your favourite warm-up, have I? Linda, I haven't spoken to you. Is that right? Favourite warm-up from Linda, favourite warm-up from Jill, favourite warm-up from Caroline, and then I must let you go. We've got 2 minutes left, so, you know, sorry.
Well, mine is that until January last year, I was playing a lot every day. Brilliant. And really getting to go on the pedal harp and learning the Angelus. So I was using Grossi and Pozzoli, is that right?
Yes. Right, well.
But then having had COVID twice last year, it knocked me for 6. So you have really got me back into playing again. Because I'd lost the love of the harp. Oh. So now I just start on scales and always try and start each day on a different scale. Because if I'm using the pedal harp, I need to do the pedals.
Yes.
But one of the things you haven't mentioned is lever changes. And my brain just doesn't do a lever change at all.
Okay.
Pedal harp is much easier. And then, as the others have said, I begin to do scales with the hands, not always starting on the same equivalent.
Brilliant.
So you get the different sounds and harmonies. I haven't yet got to.
Lovely. That's very nice. Yeah.
Shelley, when you do listen back to this, you've frozen so many times. I've lost an awful lot of what you said.
Oh,
so you might find on your recording that it might not have come out. I hope it's okay.
I usually when it's my end, usually my recording is okay. So fingers crossed. I'll check it and hope that's the case. I haven't double recorded. I don't double record these.
You've frozen again.
Oh, see, you haven't to me. I'm sorry. Oh, that's awful.
It's completely. I didn't hear any of that, but don't worry.
Oh, Linda, I'm so
what I'll do is listen again to this, and then I'll get the full set.
Okay.
No, it's not your fault. It's just the internet.
But it's not raining. It should be okay. When it rains here, that's when my internet really goes bad. Okay, what was I going to say to you, Linda? I love that. I just wanted to bring out Linda's point about playing on.
Lovely, thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Linda's playing on different scales, guys. It's really easy to think, oh, I'll just warm up in C because my harp's in C, or I'll just warm up in E flat because my harp's in E flat. We get very locked into playing off the coloured strings then, so it's really great to bring up that, Linda, the idea that if we move which key we're in, it's very good for our brains and our fingers, and even just from our position on the harp as well. Thank you, Linda. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to go to Jill next, and then I'm going to Caroline if Caroline's there. Caroline's sort of hiding at the moment. Hello, Jill. Favorite warm-up for you?
Yeah, scales, and like we did in dynamic harps, different tempos.
Lovely.
Things quickly, arpeggios with the first inversion, and Brilliant. Then what I'm doing at the moment is single fingers as well.
Great, that's very, very powerful too.
On the single fingers, and then into round chords. So that's what I'm really working on at the moment. Is
Brilliant.
Individual fingers.
And that's really good because often we can find that the 4 isn't as strong or something, and actually just taking the time just to go up, and then immediately as soon as I do that, I'm like, oh, listen to the sound of that one string, and I find I kind of really get obsessed by like what I'm doing, and then it allows you to really think about your breathing and your squeeze and get used to that playing one finger. I often find that people are saying to me that they find the turns aren't even when they turn in sound, and if you get very used to playing 4 on its own, or when you turn, then putting 4 on and playing it nicely isn't challenging because you can play 4 on its own. Or and the same with the thumb. If you can play the thumb nicely on its own, the turns aren't. You're going to get a more even sound on the turn. So that's really great practice. Thank you, Jill, for sharing that. Brilliant. This has been really useful. I think this has been
stuck again.
Oh,
dare I interrupt and come in on that, because moving up and down is the movement of the arm on the. As you go up and down, just have to move down. It took me ages to try and learn that one.
I missed what you said then. I'm ever so sorry, Linda. But it was something to do with the turning up and down, coming up and down the scale. This has not been a good night for internet.
Yes, instead of reaching where you can't reach it, that's why it's uneven. If you move your arm up and down, and it's really interesting, you always talk about elevating the left hand elbow. Left elbow.
Yeah.
My teacher is so keen on the right elbow going up as you.
Okay, yeah. Well, there are 2 very quite different strands of teaching.
So you're always in that hand position, not doing a long reach.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's a dragon, but she's very good.
I was going to say the Salcedo method is both arms up. There's these two ways of thinking on that, and I was taught the opposite way, and I've always gone the opposite way. But you can play with this in any position. You know, it doesn't. Again, many roads lead to Rome. You'll find it's fine like this, and it's fine like that, and you know. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, Caroline, if I may come
Shelley,
to there. Sorry, yes, Jill. Sorry, Jill.
Can I just say you always told us to keep the hand centered.
Yes, so we do. I always talk about moving the hand. So you do move your hand up and down when you're playing. Of course you do. Yeah, that's what you're trying to defend on that. But yeah, yes, keeping the hand centered is very, very important.
That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. This is what I mean.
Yeah.
That you can go to, like I've become so comfortable with this because you can go to 10 different harpists, ask them one question, and you get 9 different answers. And you know what? The 9 different ways work generally. And the thing is, they might not all work for you. So you need to go and find those 10 harpists, and you need to ask them that one question, and you need to pick out which works for you. And then you need to just like get rid of the guff of worrying about what other people think, because there's always going to be somebody that tells you you should be doing something this way. And maybe it works for them, but it might not work for you. So, you know, I love that I've reached this point in my life. It's taken a long time, but you know, I want you all to know that it's really important. I don't want anyone else to ever be like, you know, stressing about what this little thing on your shoulder is saying, because it's just, life's too short. It's just too short. Caroline, I'm coming to you.
Okay, yeah, I've got lots of bugs flying around here.
But you're cooler than me.
It's making you brush the bugs away as well. Everybody brush away the bugs. Similar to Jill, actually, I think. I practiced with that arpeggio warm-up that you gave us, which is really good to play with a metronome.
Okay, yay! Wow, I love that sentence.
Yeah, and to practice doing that faster and faster. So start off slow with it and then speed it up. And that's really good if you're trying to play something fast. You know, like when we've done the things in dynamic harps and knowing how fast they are, to use that as a warm-up to get faster.
Brilliant.
And that horrible thing that you make us do, and actually it just shows that I haven't done it for a while because I can't remember exactly how it goes, but you know where you play with, is it with 1 and 2 and then 1 and 3, do the scales with
you
1
mean this, don't you?
and 1 and 4?
And then yeah, it's pretty evil, isn't it? That
Yes, except I can't do it as fast as that.
You don't need to, it's fine. I mean, and
it's really probably, good because
okay, but you do that one as well. I mean, that's a bit, I mean, it's almost like a step on, isn't it, from Jill talking about doing just the single notes. And I really think that a lot of us can benefit from going back to just doing the rocking as well. But then those 2 notes, you know, practicing this, my hand feels really like weird. You're like, why am I doing this? But the thing is, if you can get that and you can get your hand comfortable and get it so you're getting I mean, I'm not getting an even tone. I'm listening to that and thinking that's not even remotely, you know, I definitely need to work on these again. But if you can get it to a point where that's easy, well, then when you're playing normally, you're like, whoa, this is fine. This isn't a problem at all. So I think that, you know, that's what, I mean, in some ways, the sign of a good exercise, I feel it can be that, you know, you almost make sometimes, I mean, I always advocate, don't I, making things so simple, finding something you can't do, then finding a simple way to practice it until you can do it and then put it back in. But also sometimes doing something that's really awkward in your warm-up or your study anyway, so that when you then play normal pieces, you go, oh, phew, can be also helpful too. So, you know, with those exercises, you probably never have to do that ever. But if you learn to do that, then when you're playing, as I say, in a normal piece, you've got the skill and the balance in your hand and the comfort to do it, but it's easier when you're playing in real life. So yeah, thank you, Caroline. That was really, really helpful to know. I think this is really helpful tonight. I don't know, we haven't covered the thing I was going to ask you, but I'm late finishing and I don't want to keep you all in the heat. But I hope it's been interesting to go around and hear everyone's exercises. I think that's been really, really powerful and interesting. And I've loved hearing the different things like metronome, or I'm working on rhythm, or I'm working on rolled chords. So did you hear across the group people had found something that there's a pinch point for them, or a passion point, you know, something they really want to be able to do nicely, and you've then made your exercises that are actually focusing on that passion. So for those of you, if anybody's sitting there and thinking, well, actually I don't think I do that, then maybe that's a really fun take home from tonight, is to go, do you know what, actually there's a rolled chord, I really want to be able to play beautifully in that piece, or that I really want to be able to play Scotch snaps and I want to get them like really I want them to be like ping, then turn your exercise into doing that rhythm over and over again on your scales and arpeggios. So maybe that's a really nice take home tonight. I found it really interesting anyway, so I'd like to thank you all for sharing as well. I must finish, but I'm just going to very quickly make sure I haven't missed something. I've trouble in my heart when I take it out of the room space even more, or even move it in the room. I feel so discombobulated. Has it ever happened to anyone? Yes, I mean, you get really used to it over time. Ethna, I think this would be really useful in my play your harp out. I wanted to ask you guys some questions, so maybe I'll just leave you with those and you can email me or whatever. But this would be a really interesting thing to talk about, because for instance, dynamic harps, we went to France and, well, we do concerts in, used to do, hopefully we will again, concerts in different venues, but in France we did 7 concerts in 3 days or something crazy. And, you know, from a supermarket to a beautiful church with phenomenal acoustics to a warehouse with the worst acoustics to probably outside, I can't remember, to a tiny room, I don't know, whatever, you know, it was like, and I remember on the coach, like afterwards kind of going to everyone, right, you've just experienced playing where you couldn't hear each other, isn't that fun? You know, but you know, we go into these different spaces and it's very, very different. But the thing is that you guys that did that and had that experience, and then we, you know, I didn't talk about it much, but I briefly talked to you about it, I remember, after each one, because I thought it was such a cool thing to be able to experience in quick succession. But you get used to it. So you go like, you know, you turn up to me like, oh, I'm in one of those rooms where my sound like is going to sound amazing, and then the audience is going to come in and I'm going to sound rubbish, you know, and or whatever. I don't mean rubbish, but you know, I'm going to have to play out more. You know, I've been into so many places where you know, there's no soft furnishings, and you go in and the acoustics are resonant and beautiful, and then the audience comes in and they suck up your sound, and you have to work 10 times harder to make it sound beautiful. So what I'm trying to say, Ethna, is that you get used to, just by having those experiences. Yes, you might feel very peculiar or out of sorts, or it might make you feel like shy or whatever when you play in different areas. But once you've done it, try and reflect on what it was, what the room was like, so that you've stored it in your mind, so that when you find it again, you're like, oh, well, when I played there, I had to play extra, you know, extra squeezing in my playing to make my sound resonate more, to get more overtones, or in this particular venue, you know, like playing outside, dynamic harps again, you know, I often would say to you, you're going to sound like you're playing on your own when you're outside. We're going to be in the group and you're going to feel like you're playing on your own. And what happens when you feel like you're playing on your own, you think, I must be out of time with everyone, I better play softer, and I better not play everything, and it's gonna, and then what happens is nobody can hear anything. So when you are in that position, that's when you have to be like, this is me, I'm going to play really loudly and it's going to be fine, I'm going to play loudly, so I hope that my neighbor knows that we're in time. And you know, and so you just get more used to it, Ethna. So I mean, I think particularly, you know, you're a singer, so you've got very used to listening in a particular way as well. Even moving a little bit in your room will change the acoustic bounce you're getting, I suspect, for you as well. So just do it. You know, maybe if it's a real thing for you, put your harp in different, you know, say, right, today I'm going to play in the bedroom. Tomorrow I shall play in the kitchen. Next week I shall play in my downstairs loo, whatever. I don't know, so that you get used to the different sounds. And then when you go out, hopefully it won't be such a thing. But that's a very, very useful thing I had not thought of talking about in that course, so I will now as well. So thank you for that too. That's a gift for me. But yeah, just try it. Just go and do different things, and just remember, everything is a learning curve. Everything will have purpose at some point. Marvelous. Okay, I must stop the recording. So thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who came live. Thank you, Mary, Alison, Carolyn, Ethna, Jill, Jane, Jean, Lorraine, Linda, Pamela, Susan, and I know somebody snuck off, whoever it was. Thank you. I'm going to just say goodbye to each other on the recording, and I'll stop the recording. I won't disappear straight away if someone's desperate to say something to me. But bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.